to do Dendrobium orchid right now, and we're going to start with the throat. So I'm just going to get like a piece of gum paste. I'm going to measure it like a third to the largest, about that big. Oops. About the size of a walnut, not a walnut, but a hazelnut. And I'm just going to form it into a small ball and make a carrot, like a carrot shaped. And I'm going to use a number 8 or a number 7 piping tip and make an indentation on the wide side of the throat and press the sides of it. So it kind of looks like a manta ray almost. Now get a number 26 floor wire, about 2.5 inches in length, and form that into, make an open hook, a tight open hook. And you want the hook to be like slightly open, that way when it goes into the gum paste it hooks into the dough so it doesn't come out when the dough is already dry. So I'm just I just brushed some gum glue in it, and I'll put that in, insert that into the thinner end of the manta ray, and I'll put that right into my middle finger and kind of bend it and bend it downwards like so. Now for the center, I'll take my needle tool and make an eye. So that's what you're looking for. Okay, so on the underside of it, you take your Dresden tool, and I'm using the wider side, and you just press it in. So you have that canal on the underbelly of your throat. And while this is drying, I'll just put that onto my drying foam. I'm going to make the throat part, and I'm just conditioning some white gum paste. And just roll it into even thinness, about 1/16 of an inch. So I depress it down and then shake it a little bit. That way you get a clean cut. Then I'll take that and my angle tweezer, and I'm going to tweeze 2 lines. Onto my throat, and I'll put that on my foam pad. And with my ball tool, I'm going to thin out the edge of the first scallop. And then I'm going to drag that on the side of my foam pad, and I'm going to do this on the side of my table if the camera allows for me to do it, but since it's not, I'm just gonna lift it up a little bit so you have an idea of what I'm doing. And I'm just gonna frill this side of the throat, and I'm just gonna press my needle down and rock back and forth, then move on to the next part, press it down and move it back and forth. And as you can see, I'm actually not using the tip of my needle tool, I'm using the side. That way I don't tear my gum paste, and I don't really extend the needle tool to where I'm like twirling like this. I just go back and forth, then move on to the next and do back and forth. Like so. And I'm going to do this on the edge of my table. If I can. So after you're done with it, then it's like so curled, you can use your small ball tool and kind of stretch that out. So you still have that curl, but it's not as closed as it was earlier. And you still have that curl. And this, you know, curls it and thin it at the same time. Alright, so once you have that, you take your dry, this one's already dry. It's dried for about 24 hours, and I like to do that way it doesn't give when I try to put on a piece of gum paste to it. I'm just going to thin out. Okay, so after you've done that, I'm just going to brush a little bit of gum glue on the side of the throat, and I'm going to put that in between my forefinger and my thumb, and I will put this right on the tip of that throat and fold it over. I don't think I put enough gum glue in it. So this is how it's going to look like. You see how there's like a small opening there. And then you just let this dry for about 48 hours until it's strong enough to be dusted. Okay, so for the sepal and the petals of the orchid, and if you've watched some of our videos, you know already that orchid only has 2 petals, and the 10 or the 12 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and 7 o'clock position are actually sepals. So I'm going to just roll this out into an even thinness. And the sepal cutter of the Dendrobium orchid is the one that's shaped like a 3-star. And so I'm just going to cut that. Out. Make sure that it's nice and clean cut. So after you cut it is when I'm going to vein it, because that way I know exactly where I need to vein the sepal. So you see how there's veining detail on it already. And then I'll take my ball tool and thin out the edges. And the Dendrobium orchid doesn't really have much movement on the petals, so I'm not gonna do much movement on it. I'm just thinning it out. That way it doesn't look like it's been cut and I don't have any square edges. Okay, so when you're done working with this, and because we're going to be working on it again, and so you want it to stay pliable and soft, you can set it aside, but make sure that you cover it with a heavy-duty plastic. And this is available on our website as well, or you can just have, you have a vinyl mat that you can cover it with, so it prevents it from drying. So I'm going to set that aside. So I'm just going to condition some more white gum paste, and you can of course use other color. And again, I'm just going to do like an even thickness on my gum paste. And since this one, I can actually just cut it or vein it before I cut it, because it's just one single petal in a way. So I vein it first before I cut. So make sure that that line on your veiner that runs through the center remains in the center. And I'll take both of those on my petal foam pad and thin it. Now, as you can see, I'm holding my ball tool like a pen, and I'm just outlining, kind of like drawing almost the center of the ball tool. Alright, and then just take your needle tool and run it through the center of your petal, and then I'll set it aside together with the center that we did with the plastic right on top of it, so it doesn't dry. And I'll get my dryer. Now I'm going to use my large lily dryer. I'll take the sepal. I'm going to brush a little bit of gum glue right on the center. You take your petals, and then you just put it right on the center. Like so. And then you brush a little bit more of the gum glue, and with the dried up center you just poke it through the center. Just find that hole that goes through here. Okay, so for it to dry in place, I would take some pieces of foam, and this one actually curls up in front, so I'd take a piece of foam right there and just curl it backwards, and that's how it should look like while it's drying. Okay, so just let it dry for about 24, 48 hours, and then just remove all the foam, and then you're good to go. Okay, so this is how it's gonna look like when it's done. And you can also make this, of course, in whatever color that you prefer. I prefer it in white because then I can the colors come out, the petal dust, when you try and dust the outside, because this is going to be like different tones. I'll have some white, some green, and some purple in it, so I wanted to be able to have all those vibrant colors. So I'm going to start with a white gum paste. So take that and some Winsor Purple petal dust, some lilac, and some apple green petal dust as well. And I'm going to start with a little bit of apple green petal dust. And you can use your, if you have the palette petal dust, probably the lime green on the selection would be enough. So I'm just dusting the inside of it with a little bit of apple green or lime green, and also the inside of my throat and the underbelly of my throat, like so. Okay, and then I'm going to use a combination of Sahara and Winsor Purple, because the color of the Dendrobium orchid is actually purple, but it's more on the red undertone. So I'm going to start with the tip going in. And I'll try to blend that with the green. I'll try not to have that line between the green and the purple. So kind of try to blend that in so it doesn't look like there's a line that separates the purple and the green. And also the, of course, the throat. And as you can see, I always like to use the flat brush. Just makes it a lot easier for me to scrape from the side going in. There we go. And also the top of my throat. You can actually do this before you even insert the throat there. So after I've dusted, because it's heavily dusted with petal dust, I like to shimmer it a little bit with pearl, so it's nice and shimmery, and it doesn't look too dry. It kind of like blends it on the gum paste, and this is how it looks like.